Everyone. My name is Cathy Thompson, and I am here today talking to you about a new framework that I have developed called Ease by Design. And so this presentation will be probably about 15 minutes in length, and I'm going to go through the work-life integration ease by design framework for you. But first, I just wanted to introduce myself. For those of you who don't know who I am, again, I'm Cathy Thompson. And the reason I developed this model is because I work inside of several of my companies. I have two corporations, a sole proprietorship, along with a partnership, and I co-host the Canadian Music Therapy podcast along with my own podcast called Business Boosters. And so, with all of that going on, I've found a framework that I personally use to be able to build ease into my days. And I truly believe that as busy business owners, as women business owners, we really need to be intentional about building in time for ourselves because it's not just going to happen for us. What I'm finding is a lot of women are getting burnt out, just not having time for themselves, feeling run down. And I truly believe that we can be intentional, as I said, build in that ease into your days with a strategic framework. And so this is where this ease by design framework comes in. I do have a program, a live program starting in January 2026, January 9th. And so it's 1 hour a week virtual for 4 weeks. And what we do is we go over the framework in detail. And each week we focus on each piece of the framework. So there's four pieces. And so I'll teach the concept and then we'll do some hands-on work during that time. And what I love about that is because I take courses and I'm a lifelong learner. And often I'll take a course and be all pumped up and ready to implement. And then you get caught up in your work afterwards, and there's no real time. So I've built in the time in the 1 hour a week for you to work on the concept because I really want to bring you to a point where you can free up a minimum of 27 minutes a day for you. And so that doesn't seem like a lot, but over the week, it's like 3 hours of time. So if you think of what you could do for 3 hours of time, I mean, that's amazing. You can learn all kinds of new things, hang out with your friends, spend time with family, and all of that great stuff. So I developed the framework because um, I really want women to focus on carving out that time for themselves. And as you know, I have a lot going on in terms of my businesses, but I do have ease in my days, and I want to teach you how I do it. So, in order to find out more information about the program, so I have one starting in January, one in February. And as I said, it's once a week and it's a small group. I think it'll be probably 6 to 8 women in the group. And so we're able to share and really work through this together. So, this is the framework. I'll show it to you. So the first component of the framework is our mindset, and I really believe that this is an overlooked piece when people do strategic planning in their businesses, in their lives, really considering things. Mindset is so critical, and so today's presentation, which will be probably I don't know 15 minutes, will really dive into that mindset piece, and that'll give you a little bit of a sense of my perspective on things, how I teach. And so if that virtual class in January or February might be of interest to you, you can have a sense of whether to sign up or not. Okay, so mindset. So for, well, I guess I'll go through the framework. So it starts with mindset and then it moves to design. So then that's where we really get into the nitty gritty of designing things in your business, your life. Then we move into integration. I'm blocking that a bit, and then evaluation, and then we can go back to mindset and repeat the cycle based on how well you're doing in terms of freeing up that time in your schedule. Okay, so let's get started on mindset. So again, mindset is something that I feel we really need to address prior to doing anything else in this framework. Our mindset really does impact the way and the lens in which we see the world. And there's all kinds of topics I could talk about in this way, but I've chosen three specific areas that I want you to focus on for your mindset in this framework. So, the first one I want to focus on is your identity. Okay, so when you're building a business from the ground up, as you know, it takes a lot of work, a lot of resources, your energy, your focus, attention. So you and then your business, and the more you focus on it, the more attention that is put on it. I find that we sort of get into this piece of this enmeshed, if that's a word, identity. And so we are sort of one with the business, especially if you're a sole proprietor. And then that's where it creeps into your life. It creeps into your personal time. It creeps into, um, you know, your family time, vacations, because it becomes all encompassing. And then we sometimes get into a position where it, for the success of the business, is directly related to our identity as a business owner. Well, I'm not a good business owner because my business isn't a success. Well, that's not necessarily true. And you're everything else besides a business owner as well. You might be a parent, you might be a daughter, and that kind of thing. So you yourself as a human looking at your identity, and it is not your business. You are separate. So in order to build time in your day while continuing to grow your business, you have to separate yourself, your identity, from your business. And so it's not here anymore. You've got to get to like here. We're still working on it. We still identify as a successful business owner, but we have a little bit more of a psychological detachment. And sometimes I hear women refer to their business as their baby, which shows, a really strong emotional attachment to the business. And so if you can reframe it, if you consider your business your baby, maybe reframe it and think, no, it's its own entity. It has its own identity. And so for years, I've really been working on this myself in terms of, yes, I'm a business owner, but my businesses have their own identity. Corporations are their own entities. So really trying to think psychologically about, I'm not my business. My self worth is not my business success. Things happen. Businesses are great ideas. They just don't get off the ground. Something happens. We have so many political, economical, social factors that impact businesses. So, really, if you want to get that time into your day, one of the psychological pieces is thinking about your identity. Okay, the next piece, and again, I'm going through this rather quickly during the course. We'll dive in much more detail, as well as there will be other things that I'll be talking about in terms of mindset. But this just gives you an idea. Control. Okay, so control. We as business owners and starting a business, we have control over things. That is actually a reason why people start businesses, to take control over their financial future, to take control over something. And that's great. When you're starting a business, we need to do all of the tasks. We need to take control of the planning and the trajectory and so many aspects of the business. But over time, because you're controlling so much, you will become overrun by tasks. That is just the nature of a business that's continuing to grow. And so we need to look at a way to relinquish control. The problem with that, well, there's several, but one piece of it is that often when we try and control things, it's for our own safety. It's just within us, because when we're controlling something, we feel more safe. And when we're out of control and when we have no control at all, of course it feels unsafe. We want you to still have control, but not like, again, we want to separate that control for you. And so once you do that, once you get a little bit, still feel safe, but moving yourself away, you can reduce tasks, you can automate tasks, you can assign tasks to other people. And we'll get into that in the other aspects of the framework. But consider how much control you really do feel that you need to have in your business. And maybe consider how you can give up a little bit. Another reason why we control things is anxiety. For me personally, with with many things in my life. I have two children and you know, a partner, my husband, and businesses. And I like to control a lot of things, but obviously I can't control everything, especially with the magnitude of different varying things I do during the day. I just simply can't. So being okay with not being in control is a big thing. And working through that feeling of anxiety, working through, why am I feeling like I need to control these pieces when I could let AI do it or, find another way. So, control is the second piece I want to talk about with mindset. So, once we're able to sort of shift our identity, relinquish a little bit of control, you can feel that things are starting to like separate a little bit but still good. Your business will still be growing. And then the third piece is busyness. Busyness as a badge of honor. I cannot tell you how many business women that I meet who say how busy they are all day. And I know everyone has a lot going on. But then I think to myself, do we need to be this busy? Busyness as a society within women in business, it sort of feels like you're super productive the more busy you are. How's business going? Oh, so busy. So busy. So many meetings. So many things on my to-do list. Versus somebody else. How's your business? Great. Yeah, it's going along well. It's growing. And I'm able to go to my yoga class every morning. And then I usually try and schedule coffees with friends 3 times a week. You know, so think about your impression of hearing that. You think, well, the person who's really involved and really busy may deserve more success. It's a societal perspective that we're really dealing with here. And so a couple of reasons why people stay busy. Number one is that being busy is a great way to avoid doing things and taking care of things and strategically planning. So being busy does not mean you're being productive all the time. I'd like you to have a hard look at your busyness. Do you identify as a busy business owner? When people say, how is everything going? Do you say, oh, I'm just so busy. Like I literally have no time. And so when you keep putting that energy out to the universe, you will start and continue to receive reasons to be busy. But once you identify it and start pulling back, I guarantee you will become less busy. Being okay with being less busy is a huge thing. For me personally, it has taken years to really be okay with not scrambling around, running from this thing to that thing, doing presentations, doing whatever. It's not, the business still grows. My companies still grow, whether I'm running around like crazy doing all these tasks or I'm not. And that's just the way I've designed things in the companies, simply put. But I think that being busy also makes us feel needed and important. You know, if you're not busy, no one really needs you, do they? It's these things that I really want you to think about in terms of your identity and how that fits in with your business. I want you to think about your control. And I want you to think about your busyness and how you show up at business meetings, how you show up at networking events, how you describe yourself when people ask about your company, how things are going. Are you really as busy or are you saying that because that's what you're supposed to say? And once we start to calm down and realize that through this intentional design, this framework that I'm going to teach you, you can build in that time into your days to do the things you love to do. Focus on you as a person, not always on the business, not always on your family, not always on your relationships, you as a person. And you deserve that. And so over the course of these 4-week programs, that's what we'll be going through. We'll be going through this framework. We'll be looking at those other aspects. We talk about the mindset, but then we have to look at the design piece. Okay, so we've got our mindset. It's okay for us to be not as busy. It's okay to relinquish some control. So, how do we look at that design piece? And that's really the nitty gritty. Then we look at the integration, like how does that design really integrate into your work and into your life? And then finally we look at the evaluation. Is it working? Are you getting that time for yourself? What if you free up that time? It's kind of like a big purse, when you get like a larger bag and it's full all the time, but you have a smaller bag and it's full. These sort of when you have that empty space, you tend to fill it, right? And so that's also a technique. We're evaluating, okay, so we freed up that 27 minutes or that 30 minutes or 42 minutes a day. What are you going to do in that time to nurture yourself instead of adding busy work? So that's the nature of the program. I feel really confident in that I will be able to help you deliver results in your business and in your life. And you're going to feel that ease. And that's really my goal for you is to feel at ease because that calms our nervous system and allows us to show up as our best selves. So again, the Ease by Design program 4 weeks. It's virtual. It's noon in January, 10 a.m. in February, and I'll add dates later. If you cannot make the program but really feel excited to get started, I have one-on-one appointments available. Go to my website, cathythompson.biz, and you will see Ease by Design. Just go on that. It's got all the information. Just shoot me an email to sign up. It's really super easy. And like I said, just doing small groups because I feel like we can really get farther through that small group activity, small group reflection and sharing. And I'm really excited by this. So hopefully you will join me at one of those sessions. If you have questions, I want you to go to my website, find the contact form, reach out to me, and I want to talk to you about how I can help you build ease into your day.